Shot, he scores! And the Ballers win! Helena is no longer undefeated!
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
Barons win! Barons win!
Cody Jansen stopped 92 out of 95 shots, including a penalty shot in overtime. Somehow he still only wound up the third star of the game.
You like that?
Jansen has a heart.
You're smoking crack!
So the Oilers end up losing last night. Boy, Edmonton sports fans were rocking at Commonwealth Stadium. You know we're going to be talking about that. It's World Hockey Report presented by Lordco Auto Parts, the official auto parts retailer of Hockey Canada and Team Canada. It's a hockey show, but I kid you not, the soccer game last night could have been one of the coolest sporting events I have ever been at. It's up there, probably top 3. And just a reminder, if you're going to go to the rink or the soccer stadium, Lordco, they got to make sure you got everything you need for a smooth ride, from bright white headlight replacement bulbs for increased visibility during early morning or late night commutes to battery maintainers that'll ensure your vehicle starts when the temperature drops. Visit a Lordco Auto Parts location today for knowledgeable service, quality parts, and accessories. Visit lordco.com to find a store near you. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss out on Lordco Auto Parts, because come up on winter here, we got a big snowfall the other day. They're going to help you out. I'm telling you, 100% Lordco is the place to be. Alrighty, big show ahead. We got the Oilers. They lose 5-2. We will break all of it down. We got comments from Leon Draisaitl. We got comments from Darnell Nurse that we're going to get to. We'll talk with Connor Hawley as well from TSN 1260 here in Edmonton. And as well, he's got the other Connor podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network. And as well, another THPN guest coming up later from Devil State of Mind. It's Neil Villapiano. Gonna hop on. We'll talk East Coast. We'll talk New Jersey Devils. We'll talk PK Subban. Everything you want to hear. And don't forget, you can join the conversation anytime on 12 Ounce Sports, 12OZ Sports on Twitter. Go on YouTube. Go on Facebook. Connect with the show right now. One of the questions we've been posing, and I do want your opinion. We are going to get to your opinion. We'll ask our guests as well, Connor and Neil. Who's your 3 goalies for Canada's Olympic team? The conversations come up. I've seen some dark horses being thrown around too. James Reimer, that's an interesting one. He's had an awesome start to the year. Where do they go? Is it because he plays on San Jose that we're not going to give him a look? Or should you give him an even more of a look because he's playing on such a piss-poor team? It's an interesting conversation if you are looking ahead to the Olympics. The Oilers, where do they go with their goaltending? Koskinen, not good enough last night. Connor Hellebuyck was. I mean, you can't go down 4-0 against a team like Winnipeg and expect to have a chance to win the hockey game. They really didn't. They didn't. They simply weren't good enough. So we'll talk Oilers, and of course, we're going to talk Devils later on in the show. But let me tell you, it's Cody Jansen live from the Pro Rock Broadcast Studios in beautiful Alberta. Follow me on Twitter at Janner31_ in the show and World Hockey RPT. Pro Rock Hockey Sticks. If you don't know, now you know. They're the best hockey sticks, the best price point. They're Canadian-owned and operated company out of the great province of Manitoba, home of the Winnipeg Jets, who laid a shellacking on the Edmonton Oilers last night. It wasn't pretty. But, okay, let's talk soccer for a second first. Canada with a huge 2-1 win. Alphonso Davies in his home country. That's incredible. They beat Mexico. Canada's just the best soccer country. I'm telling you, you play a sport in the winter, we're going to be the best at it. That's just how Canada is. But all of a sudden, you throw Kyle Larin up there, 2 tucks for him. Some of the best celebrations I've ever seen. That's the best atmosphere I've ever seen at Commonwealth Stadium. It was incredible. Probably one of the best soccer games in Canada, in Canadian history. I don't know where you would exactly rank it, but it has to be up there. It's way bigger than TFC winning the MLS. It's a million times bigger than that. You got Canada at home beating Mexico. Mexico at home in Canada in November in a snowstorm. Unbelievable. So just want to give a shout out to Team Canada Soccer there. I know it's World Hockey Report, but I'd be remiss if I hid the headline from the sporting world this week. The Oilers, they fall 5-2, and we'll break it down, but of course, a post-game loss, that means time for Leon Draisaitl to shine.
You can't give up 4 goals. You can't keep trying to beat teams 5-4, 5-3. Sometimes you got to grind out a 2-1 win or a 3-2 win on this road trip.
What? Yeah. What's the question?
No, you can't. You score lots of goals, but against good teams like that, you can't give up 4 goals the first 2 periods.
Yeah, that's what I just said, right?
Who doesn't love Leon Draisaitl? A little sour after a loss. He's never afraid to sugarcoat things. And it's not an issue of mine with the media. I don't have a problem with the media by any means. But again, these guys don't want to sit there and answer questions. So if you expect them to give you some long thought out answer post a loss, especially a tough loss in Winnipeg, I mean, you got to ask a better question. That's as simple as that. You can't just put them on a tee. They're not going to knock it out of the park. It's not like they just beat Winnipeg 5-0 and they really want to talk to the media about how happy they are for their teammates. No, they're sitting there, they're pissed off, and they don't want to answer questions that are hardly even questions to begin with. So you can't fault Draisaitl, but he's also hilarious. One of the best post-game interviews, especially after losses, and we get him in Edmonton. So that's pretty good. Let's break down the game, though. It's a 5-2 loss. Mikko Koskinen, obviously not good enough. He stops 22-26. That's an .846 save percentage for him. The interesting part is, and we can, beat our heads against the wall. We can talk about this for however long we want. But when do the soft goals negate the great saves? And maybe not even great saves, just really good saves. Because he stops 15 of the first 16 in the game. But that first goal's a killer. You can't be allowing the first goal like that all the time. I think it's 9 out of 15 now, and Darnell Nurse commented on that. We'll get to Nurse's comment in a second. But the issue is you can't keep going down in games in that fashion because of your goaltending. It's a terrible goal that Lowry scores to open the game, and now all of a sudden you're climbing uphill when you really shouldn't have to. That's my issue with Koskinen, is that he could be, was he 9-1 now? 9-2? Is he the worst 9-2 goalie of NHL history? Like, it's bad at this point. There's been some games when you're like, wow, Koskinen's kicking. Like, there's been some really, really good saves. And there's also times where you're like, what is he doing? Glenn hops in the conversation. Glenn, we'll get to your comment before we wrap up some Oilers stuff. He says, all right, Mike Sullivan said that Evgeny Malkin is progressing as expected max soon, but I feel like this is a story, Glenn. But I feel like it will all be too late for Pittsburgh to be a good hockey team. Cody, I think that it's time for them to rebuild. What says you? Also, I'm not a fan of Ron Hextall, Brian Burke, who is running this team into the ground. That's totally wrong, Glenn. That's a terrible take. I feel like Hextall is secretly working for the Philadelphia Flyers and doing his job, perfectly running Pittsburgh into the ground. That's a conspiracy theorist, if I've ever heard a comment there. Thoughts on new ownership? I feel like Mike Sullivan and the core is safe, but I feel like Hextall and Burke are not. Big Ron Hextall fan, big Brian Burke fan. That ain't your issue in Pittsburgh. Is it time to rebuild? I would say so. Your stars are done. Crosby and Malkin, they don't have another Stanley Cup in them. So you either decide, are we going to keep them around and retire their number and let them have the send-off they want, or are we going to want to start the rebuild, kind of piss off a few people? Are the new owners going to come in and shake things up? Because new ownership really doesn't matter. I mean, it's a tax write-off for these guys. They're billionaires. They know they own an NHL team, but they can't name 10 of the players on it. That's the issue with ownership, is that if they're not involved right now, it's just they're throwing money in. It's a hobby. They want an NHL team. It's something cool that they can throw on their Wikipedia page. But the issue in Pittsburgh is not Brian Burke, and it's not Ron Hextall at all, Glenn. That's where I'll leave that. I do think it's time to rebuild. I don't know. Is Crosby the right trade? Does he even want to go? Do those guys want to go? If they want out, get rid of them. Start the rebuild. If they want to retire Pittsburgh Penguin, you got to suck it up and take some of these losing years while figuring out a way to get some real prospects in your pool. That's what I'm doing if I'm a Pittsburgh Penguins management member right now. Back to the Oilers now. They lose 5-2 against the Jets. That first goal, it's terrible. And again, Koskinen, you can say what you want about his start, but he stopped 15 of 60 in the first 27 minutes of the game. Frankly, that still isn't good enough. You're in the NHL. You have to be better, especially early in games. Koskinen has not done that. And for the Oilers, they've allowed 9 of the first 15 goals in their games this season. Here's Darnell Nurse.
Well, you just got to keep playing. I mean, our focus is on starting. It's not like we come out and have a focus on giving the other team the first goal. So maintain that focus on coming out and try to find the first one. And if you repeat the process of coming out and playing hard enough, more times than not, you're going to be on the right side of that stat. So just comes down to us coming out in the first and finding a way to get the first.
Also, some news here. This is waiver wire stuff. Adam Brooks, he's just been claimed by Vegas. So there you go. That's your breaking news of the day for Sports Travel Tours. Be sure to go check them out. Spangler Cup trips. This year, if you want to get in, you better hurry up. But if not, plan for next year, 2022. It's going to be incredible. They're going to the Spangler Cup. They're also going to the World Championships. We got some really cool content coming out with the Sports Travel Tours and the World Championships. Back to the Oilers. That second goal. Also, actually, before we get to that, I'll say something nice about Mikko Koskinen. We got to do that once in a while on the show. That Nurse turnover at the end of the first period was awful. I mean, he looked like he was using the wrong-handed stick out there. I don't remember. It might have been Ehlers who comes down the other way. Koskinen makes a great save. Like, those are just chances that you can't be giving up against a team like Winnipeg. No one was sharp yesterday in the first 40 for the Oilers. It was just Mikko Koskinen was a glaring error on the whole side of things. The second goal, it goes high glove. I mean, it's a slap shot from Ehlers, top of the circle. It's a good shot. But again, it's high glove. Everyone knows that on Koskinen. It's not a problem you can snap your fingers and fix overnight. Also, for Oilers fans complaining that Derek Ryan was interfered with by Mark Scheifele, figure it out. That ain't interference. Derek Ryan's got his head down on the ice and he backs into him. You got to be aware of where you're going on the ice. If you're not moving and you get ran into, that's an interference. That's a penalty. If you're the one who backs into Mark Scheifele and falls down, it's not interference. It's hockey. Stand up, get up, play on. That would be the softest call of the game if they were to do that. But again, second goal goes high glove. Koskinen is yet fault. I don't know. It's not a great goal to give up. It's a clean shot, but it's not the worst goal in the world. It's not as bad as the first one. Third one, no chance. That was tipped. But where was Duncan Keith on that play? He's chasing his guy to the wall, and then he's slow to get back. That's an issue if you're Duncan Keith and Cody Ceci. I mean, you kind of got to take the pass, but also that's a shot pass. That's a tough play. You can't blame it on Ceci, really. It's a good tip. It's a good goal. And the fourth one gets tipped, goes high glove. Again, it's an outside tip. Goes high glove. Like, I mean, as a goaltender, are you supposed to be saving all those tips? What's an acceptable number of tips to be stopping? It's just a tough play. If you're a defenseman and you're not getting sticks in front of the net, those are going to happen. So for the Oilers, defensively, you got to put in a little bit more effort. That's my opinion. Again, let me know. Join the conversation anytime. Glenn's already filled it with a storybook about the Pens. Glenn, I would love to know your situation when you talk about rebuild. Where are we at with the goaltending situation? Would you want to see them bring Fleury back and let him retire as a Penguin? Are you happy with Jerry? I don't think Casey DeSmith is an NHL backup. I don't even think that's a hot take anymore, but I don't think he's that guy in Pittsburgh. I think you got to do something, especially if you want to try and go on one more run with this group. With Malkin healthy or not, Crosby healthy or not, I don't think you have more than 2 runs maximum. That's absolute max in this group, and I would guarantee you don't have 2 more runs in it with them. So it'll be interesting, Glenn. You can hit us up, join the conversation anytime. Stuart Skinner comes into the game in the third. He stops 8 of 8. Again, Connor Hellebuyck, he stops 32 of 34. That's good for a .941 save percentage. He's just better. Connor Hellebuck is better. And the Oilers, you have to stop using the excuse of, oh, we ran into a hot goaltender in playoffs. He had a .950 in playoffs. Oh, he was a hot goaltender. We just couldn't buy one. That's not an excuse. It's not an excuse that Winnipeg picked a better goaltender than you. It's not an excuse that the Jets have developed a better goaltender than you. It's not an excuse that the Jets have built their team better than the Edmonton Oilers. At some point in time, you got to say, hey, they're the better team, and we got to figure out a way to step our game up. You can't just say, oh, they were hot at the right time. Oh, they got a lucky bounce in overtime. No, Connor Hellebuck is a superior goaltender, and until the Oilers figure out that maybe you got to build from the back end out, it's going to be tough to beat those teams. You can't just expect them to score on the power play. I mean, Draisaitl, he gets a couple more, but again, 5v5, I think the Oilers were out of it last night. I don't think that they were there. If I'm wrong, let me know. But 5-on-5, the Oilers aren't close to the Winnipeg Jets right now. We'll see Thursday night. I would expect Stuart Skinner to get the start, so maybe that's a little scary as well. Not to say he's played bad, but also the quality of play going from Detroit and Buffalo to the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, that's like an extra small blizzard to a large blizzard. It's massive. It's massive. I mean, it's going to put you on the toilet for 3 days. That's how different it is to play the Buffalo Sabres than the Winnipeg Jets. They got a great top six. They got good defensemen, and they got a great goaltender. So Edmonton's in tough Thursday night. And if you lose back-to-back against the Winnipeg Jets, I think you realize, you look in the mirror, and you say maybe this team is still a few additions away from being a serious cup contender. I'm not changing my pick. I still think the Oilers are going to win the Stanley Cup. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to figure out something. Again, I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're going to figure out something. That's where I'll leave it at for right now. All right, still coming up on the show, we got Connor Halley in about 3 minutes' time. Let's give him that. Neil Villapiano coming up here at 12:40 local time in Edmonton. A few other notes from the NHL last night. Trevor Zegras, overtime winner. What a selly. He copied the Hughes. He chucks his stick into the crowd. I love it. I love it. I know everyone's like, well, what if it hits someone? What if someone gets hurt? Shut up and watch the game. Enjoy it. Kid snipes in overtime, chucks his stick into the crowd for his celly. That's incredible. Also, you got Brendan Gallagher with the sucker punch. How is that a $2,500 sucker punch? And what Larkin did was $5,000 in a game. Is it because Gallagher's been in the league for that much longer? I don't know. That's a questionable one. Also, you got Ryan Reeves beating the wheels off of a kid. Welcome to New York. I know Regs fans loved it. Like, loved it's an understatement. Ryan Reeves is there. Fans are pumped. That's always good to see a little bit of toughness. Hey, we'll talk Canada's soccer with Connor Halley. We'll talk Oilers with him and everything else. Maybe some Canadian Olympic team as well. It's World Hockey Report. Quick timeout. We're back after the break.
World Hockey Report is partnering with Sports Travel Tours to bring you some incredible trips to watch hockey around the world. Sports Travel Tours has been creating hockey trips and tours since 1998. They've sent customers to the Winter Olympics, World Championships, every team in the NHL, as well as the KHL in Russia. And now, for the first time, they've been appointed official tour supplier to the Spengler Cup in Switzerland. As you all know, the Spengler Cup is the world's oldest invitational hockey tournament, set in the stunning mountains of Davos. It's also the best way to spend the time in between Christmas and New Year's. So, cheer on Team Canada in Davos this year with Sports Travel Tours exclusive packages. For information and to book, go to sportstraveltours.com. That's sportstraveltours.com and sign up to get exclusive discounts and trip priority.
NFL fans hungry for a big win this week? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars $100 in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager, one per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
What we do here is go back.
You're tuned in to World Hockey Report. We're presented by Lordco Auto Parts. Visit Lordco's in-store truck centers at select locations. They're getting a second one in Edmonton. I'm telling you, you got to check it out. It's the absolute best. Lordco Auto Parts, proud partners of Hockey Canada and Team Canada. We now welcome on from TSN 1260, as well as the Hockey Podcast Network. You know him. He's been on the show before. It's Connor Halley to join, and he was at the soccer game last night. I know that. Halley, how cool was that? Where do you rank that among like sporting events and just wins in general that you've seen? Because I put that up there pretty high. That was awesome.
Oh, yeah. What do you think for having me on today? Yeah, that's got to be near the top of the list for me. I got a chance to go to Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Final back in 2006. That was the big win over the Hurricanes. We don't have to talk about what followed that one. I think I was there for the Heritage Classic, or I know I was there. The Gretzky retirement night was cool, but having 45,000 plus people out in that stadium in the middle of November with the cold temperature, the snow surrounding the field, like it was kind of once in a lifetime. Like, I don't know if we're ever going to get that experience again. I hope down the road, maybe the 20, 30 qualifying games for the World Cup, we get a chance to see it again. But yeah, it was just remarkable. And, Soccer Canada did such a great job putting on a good event. And yeah, I had a lot of fun out there, and good to see the boys show up. 2 goals against Mexico in those conditions. It was unfortunate that Mexico got that one late to take away from the clean sheet, but yeah, a lot of fun at those games. The people there, the environment, it's just different than, an Oilers game or an Elks game. It's a lot of fun.
How deafening was it when Kyle Larin got that second goal? Like, I put that up there, and I've been in some pretty loud buildings, playoff overtime winners in the NHL, NLL in Saskatoon, when Cornwall scores the game winner to seal the championship with 8 seconds left. Like, I've been in some crazy buildings. But man, being in the front rows, it was deafening when Kyle Larin scored that second one.
Oh, I mean, it was such a nice goal. The cross in off the free kick was beautiful. Just kind of hung up there in the air. And yeah, beautiful finish by Larin. We were kind of in a weird section where for a little bit we couldn't tell if it went in. So we kind of had a delayed reaction. I don't know if you heard that, but then immediately, like you said, the crowd just lost their mind. I mean, the celebration was awesome. The player jumping into the snowbank was just so Canadian. It was, yeah, all about it was great. And I mean, the fans really bought into it. I mean, I don't know what you were seeing, but at TSN 1260, we've got the 1260 inbox, and we had so many people saying, not even a soccer fan, just going there to make Edmonton look better and cheer on Canada. And, I saw other people saying, like, after this, I'll be following this team no matter what happens. It's going to help grow the game, especially in our city, but around the country. And a lot of fun. Crowd was awesome. And let's hope we can get a World Cup game here in town, because that would be absolutely insane in 2026.
Man, imagine how quick that would sell out after these two. Like, I think for our third row seats or whatever, I think we paid it was like $60 a ticket with pre-sale. Like, it was insanely cheap to go. And I'm telling you, it's one of the best sporting events that I've ever been to. It's a top 3, top 5, no doubt in my mind. And I guarantee you, if it wasn't minus 15 or whatever, that place would have been packed and even crazier. That's the scary part, is like, there's another level to get to, and it would have been if we got a third game. I'm guaranteeing that. Like, imagine if we got the Americans on like Friday night. Like, there'd be 60,000 in there, whatever the capacity is.
Yeah, it would be heated. Like, I thought about that as well. And, it's funny, even if that game against Costa Rica had been played in better conditions, I think Canada wins like 3 or 4-0. Like they were just the better team. They controlled the pace. Costa Rica couldn't do a whole lot there. And yeah, I mean, a Canada-U.S. game would be ridiculous. We sat in the Voyageurs section on a Friday night. We played $22 a ticket. It was like, you can't beat that. And unfortunately, I think that led to some people saying last night, like, well, I only paid $20 to $60 a ticket. I can sit this one out. But yeah, you can't beat that. I mean, cheaper than the other team that plays football on that field, which and a much better product. So it's it was tough to beat. It was a real fun environment.
It's a hard one to argue with, but we're not going to dive into that. Hey, let's talk Oilers, and obviously it's a tough loss last night, 5-2. And I just want your general opinion on this team so far. Like, it's a great start. The numbers look awesome. But is there an honest evaluation that has to happen after these last 5 games to say, hey, it was a tough-ish road trip, but we're not really as good as we think we are? I think there needs to be some honest evaluation that goes on. Maybe it's because Mike Smith's out. Maybe with him in, the world changes and I'm fully off on this team. But I think there needs to be a little bit more looking in the mirror.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. I saw people, towards the end of October talking about how good this team was. And I know TSN had the power rankings and Edmonton was atop the list. And, in my mind, I'm thinking, who would they really beat? Like, let's be honest. There was a nice win against Vegas, who was short man, but it was a lot of beating up on teams that they should have beaten. And I wanted to kind of hold back and save my judgment of this team for after the road trip. Now, I'll be totally honest. On my podcast, I predicted the team to go 3-1-1 on this roadie. I thought for sure you're picking up wins in Buffalo and Detroit. Maybe you take one from the other ones in Austin or St. Louis, Winnipeg. Maybe you get a win there. And it was just totally flipped around there. Like, they lose to teams that they should have beat. They raise up and play games to the opponents that might be tougher ones. So I'm a little bit worried about this team. Are they having issues playing to the level of their competition? And that's not a good sign. Also, the slow starts, you're putting yourself in a hole. So, yeah, I don't think they're as good as we think they are right now. The goaltending questions are obviously going to be there. I don't know if Stewart's going to get too many more looks. If Mike Smith has another setback, obviously you have to go back to him. But Mikko Koskinen, we've seen it a couple times, the game against Philly, just games that, he's kind of the reason they lost. And he's been good on other occasions. I don't want to totally rip on Mikko Koskinen. I think when you look at him as a backup goalie and you take away the price tag, he's done a good job for this team. But I still think there are questions. The bottom 6, they're hurting you at times. They're not really producing, even in those close games where, Jesus, a goal from your bottom 6 would be huge. And I'm going to look at those Detroit and Buffalo games. Like, a goal from them there, and we're talking a whole different story, but they're not contributing in the way. And I just feel like this team, when they get into tough situations, there's still people that look at Draisaitl and McDavid and think the only way we get back in this game is if you guys get us into it. And I think that's something that's got to change, that they need some help in the bottom 6, the third pairing. There's going to be questions about goaltending until Mike Smith comes back. I still think is a concern. Mikko Koskinen hasn't done it for me. So, yeah, I think that, the people that were pumping the Oilers' tires early on in the season, it might have been a little bit premature, and that's not to say that they can't figure things out and get back on track, but I have questions about this team.
Connor Hall, my guest on World Hockey Report, presented by Lordco Auto Parts, host of the Other Connor podcast. Connor, I want your opinion. I mean, we've talked goaltending and all, but I really want your opinion on the Cody Ceci and Duncan Keith pairing so far this season. From what you've seen from them, have they beat expectation? Are they below your expectations? Are you kind of what they expect or what you expected? What's your thoughts?
That's a really good question. Like, when they signed and acquire Duncan Keith, obviously, I did a show and I reached out to beat reporters from Chicago and Pittsburgh and just wanted to get their thoughts on, what Oilers fans can expect from these guys. And, with Chicago, it was kind of like, it depends who he's playing with. They didn't necessarily put him in the best situation with the Blackhawks the last couple of years playing with young players. And for Cody Ceci, I think Seth Rorabaugh I had on, who covers the team. And he was saying, he was pleasantly surprised. So I was kind of unsure about what to expect from this pairing. And, just going back to what people have said that I've seen on social media, a lot of people were kind of eating crow about this pairing heading into November. And I thought that was a little premature. Like we wanted to see what they could do against other pairings. So I would say I'm a little bit surprised in a good way. Like Cody Ceci has had some really good games, I thought. There's been the moments, the lapses that we expected, I think. So I'd say, as a whole, slightly better than I thought. But I'm still going to wait a little bit. Like let's wait till we get to game 40, 50 to make maybe a more accurate judgment. But I wasn't overly optimistic. I think, the last time I was on with you guys, I was kind of negative and unsure about Ken Holland and the moves that he had made this season. So I got to hold off a little bit more, but better than I had originally expected, I will say.
Put your Ken Holland hat on right now. What's this team missing? What's the first move you're making if you're Ken Holland right now?
First move I'm making, and I don't think it happens quite yet because I don't think any teams maybe sellable yet other than the Arizona Coyotes. But I think a third line center is something I might be looking at. It was Jason Strudwick on our show kind of threw out the idea of Jeff Carter. And I thought, wow, that could be a good fit. He's got the winning pedigree. He's in a tough situation in Pittsburgh. I know in the past he's made us think about where he wanted to play, but I feel like a call from Connor McDavid early on Draisaitl might be able to sway your opinion. Third pairing defense on the left side. I think Slater Cuckoo and Chris Russell haven't been what you want from there. So I don't know exactly who it is. I don't think I want to disrupt the AHL system or anything. I want Philip Broberg and Nima Lainen and Samorukov to keep playing down there. So I don't know if there's anyone you can add. Maybe just that veteran, steady third pairing defenseman would be something. And obviously, if there was a goalie out there, I'd be making that call for sure. But I don't think that one's quite as likely. So those would probably be it for me. I know some people have said you can answer your third line center problem by putting Nugent Hopkins there. But I like what he's done with Leon Draisaitl. I mean, the assist production's been absolutely ridiculous.
He leads the league in assists.
Yeah, like he's been great in that situation. So I don't want to mess that up. I'd be looking to the outside and see if there's anything I can do there. I guess the question is, when Dylan Holloway returns, is that a solution? And, can he force Nuge down maybe? That's not going to be till after the Olympic break at the earliest, even if we see him this year. So, yeah, I think that would be it for me. Is there anywhere you're looking if you were Ken Holland?
Well, I do like your third pairing D-man addition because I don't think Slater Cuckoo and I don't think Chris Russell have filled their shoes. To be frankly honest, when you want someone who can play with a Bouchard, who can play with any pair and really be a shutdown D-man, I'm not saying like Zach Bogosian, Luke Schenn, like some of those guys that Tampa added late, those are difference makers. If you look at how deep Montreal is at the defensive position, in the toughness, in the actual defensive category, if you look at what St. Louis did when they went on their cup run, that's just something the Oilers don't have right now. I mean, you've got 3 skilled defensemen you'd consider, probably more. Like, you don't have those stay-at-home defensive D-man that you need to win in playoffs and you need to win against good teams. Sure, it's awesome you can get offensive production from a lot of your D-men. You've got 4 or 5 guys who can play the power play and be really successful at it. But when it comes to the depth on the back end, I don't think they have it. Goaltending, I got a quick question for you. Just give me an answer. Korpisalo or Fleury? Who would you rather see?
Oh, baby. Fleury. I would love to see Marc-Andre Fleury in Edmonton. Maybe it's just personal reasons. I'm a big fan of the guy. Had a strong season last year. Get him out of Chicago. I mean, I know they're playing better hockey, but get him out of Chicago. I'm going with Fleury.
Okay, I got a crazy one for you here. We only got a couple of minutes, and I really want to ask you the Team Canada one as well. But, okay, what type of package would you put together to get Spencer Knight out of Florida? Because they've still got Bobrovsky locked up for like 6-7 years. So, like, there's no way they want him in the backup role for that long, and there's also no way they want to have a $10 million goaltender as their backup for 5 years. So what type of package would you put together right now to get Spencer Knight out of Florida?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I mean, obviously, I'd be willing to throw some draft picks out there. This guy highly touted, right? First round pick a couple years ago. So I think that's going to probably take you a couple of draft picks there, a first rounder, maybe more. And then you might have to throw in a goaltending prospect just for them to keep the cupboards full. So, oh man, that's a really good one. Have you been asking people about this one? Is there any other packages out there that you've had come in?
Yeah, it came in, and we were kind of discussing it, in previous weeks. And I think I was talking about it with Escott on Oilers Now too. But like, it was something where it's like, would you give up 2 first-round picks Konovalov, Skinner. You're probably going to have to consider Broberg and then either Holloway or Bourgault. Like, it's a massive package, but think about what you're getting back. You're getting back what could potentially be your starting goaltender for the next 12 years. You know, it's something like, would you kind of deplete the farm for a guy who's going to be a number one in the NHL for a long time?
Yeah, I mean, do you think the Florida Panthers would do it? Bobrovsky's 33. I mean, I know Shane Knight, you invested a lot in him. Spencer Knight. I know you invested a lot in him. Would you want him sitting behind Bobrovsky for the next couple of years? That's a really good one. I mean, honestly, if I'm the Florida Panthers, he's probably an untouchable for me just because I want him down the road. Like you said, this guy's a starter in the NHL for the next 12 years, even if you don't get him in there for the next couple.
But how are they going to pay him on his next deal? He's playing 50% of the games. He's going to have good numbers. You're going to have to pay him $5 million plus.
Oh, you know what? That's interesting. I mean, I would love for Ken Holland to look at that and try to take advantage of that, right? Like, you can't afford to pay him. The Oilers in a couple of years will have a little more cap room to work with. I would 100% be willing to sacrifice a couple first-round picks, and, you know, if it is kind of all up, sure, that's easy. It might be tough to lose a guy. Like, I don't think I'm doing Holloway. Or Broberg, I would consider for sure.
So if it costs you Jesse Puljujarvi, Philip Broberg, and a first, are you doing it? It's something to think about. It's something to think about. I'm sure you might end up bringing it up on bringing it up with Struddy Gregor. I think it's a fun conversation to have where it's like it seems unrealistic, but I really don't think it's out of a conversation to have. Also, I got you for a minute left here. Give me your 3 Team Canada goaltenders for the Olympics.
Here. I don't know. I mean, do you want that veteran guy in a Carey Price or a Marc-Andre Fleury? Also Binnington, Price, and Fleury. I mean, Price showed you how good he can be last year in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Huge role there. Hopefully he's got his personal issues ready and he's healthy, mainly between the years. Hopefully he's good to go for that one. I'll go Marc-Andre Fleury because I think he can still play at a high level, and Binnington, who's won a Stanley Cup in the NHL. How's that sound?
I love it. There's a lot of interesting choices out there, but again, it's just a fun conversation to have. I'm looking forward to the Olympics. But Connor, man, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me anytime.
Connor Halley right there from the Other Connor podcast on the Hockey Podcast Network, also on TSN 1260. Go chuck him a follow if you don't mind. Hey, we're going to take a quick break. We'll step aside for a timeout. Neil Villapiano coming up next. We'll talk Devils, we'll talk East Coast, and we'll get to your answers on the 3 NHL goalies you want to see on Team Canada for the Olympics. It's World Hockey Report. It's Cody Jansen, and we're back in a minute.
World Hockey Report is partnering with Sports Travel Tours to bring you some incredible trips to watch hockey around the world. Sports Travel Tours has been creating hockey trips and tours since 1998. They've sent customers to the Winter Olympics, World Championships, every team in the NHL, as well as the KHL in Russia. And now, for the first time, they've been appointed official tour supplier to the Spengler Cup in Switzerland. As you all know, the Spengler Cup is the world's oldest invitational hockey tournament, set in the stunning mountains of Davos. It's also the best way to spend the time in between Christmas and New Year's. So, cheer on Team Canada in Davos this year with Sports Travel Tours exclusive packages. For information and to book, go to sportstraveltours.com. That's sportstraveltours.com and sign up to get exclusive discounts and trip priority.
NFL fans hungry for a big win this week? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code THPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 years or older in New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager, one per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Go back.
It is World Hockey Report. We're presented by Lordco Auto Parts. Find a store near you at lordco.com. Just trying to connect here. Neil Villapiano may or may not join us. Maybe a little bit of a booking error. I'll take the -1 on that one. We got a lot to talk about, though. And we are going to get to some of your thoughts regarding the Olympic team's goaltenders. We put the question out on Twitter at World Hockey RPT. You can join the conversation anytime at 12 Ounce Sports, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you want. But we asked, we said, who's your 3 starters or who's your 3 goalies for the Olympics right now? A lot of questions out there. You know, should James Reimer be considered? Should Carter Hart be considered? Well, let's get to some of your thoughts. This goes from Skirp, who says Binnington, Hart, and Price. I don't care if Price has been out. If he comes back next month, he's your starter. Is he your starter? Do you think Carey Price is that guy? I'm sure he can come back. It's not like I have that many doubts in Carey Price. I just think that's pretty big shoes to fill. If Price is playing, then it's him. That's what Sean says. Alex Micheletti hops in and says Hart, Binnington, Fleury. No Price there. I like the Binnington. I think Fleury's an interesting one. Connor Halley obviously mentioned that as well. Matt says Price, Flower, Binnington. So if Flower and Binnington are kind of the general consensus, maybe it should be who's the third goalie? Is it Price? Is it Hart? Joe Moore says, I think Fleury gets the starting role. I know he's been bad in Chicago, but he'll have a good defense in front of him. Binnington's a backup. Hart or Kemper as number 3. Darcy Kemper's not someone many people are talking about anymore. This was a guy who's had some good world championships, had some good years in Arizona. On Colorado this year, he really hasn't stood out that much. Interesting 3 here from Margan Larissa. Says Carey Price, Braden Holtby, and Mackenzie Blackwood. Could Blackwood be an option? Is Holtby an option? I don't think Holtby's an option. I don't like that one. I'll say I don't think Braden Holtby is going to be in consideration at all. Devo says Price, Binnington, Hart. Dixie Hockey Problem says Canada's got a weakness for goaltenders. Yes, but that doesn't answer the question, Dixie. Dave says Roy Broder and Dryden. Yeah, it's your 3 best of all time. Saxon Miller says, since the group of 6 on the long list is set, I think the best bets would be Binnington, Price, and one of either Blackwood or Hart. Puck Hunter says Fleury, Hart, Holtby. Jay says Hart, Blackwood, Binnington. I think that's too young. If you go with Hart, Blackwood, Binnington, I like it, but maybe just have 2 young guys and 1 more experienced guy. Like, I'm fine with going with either Price or Fleury. I don't think both is that beneficial to you. I think you go with one or the other and you say, hey, you're our number 1 guy until you mess up. And we're going to get a couple others sometime. Maybe that is a Binnington. Maybe that is a Hart. I don't know who else you'd really consider in that conversation. Blackwood, maybe. But I still think you're taking Carter Hart over Mackenzie Blackwood, 10 days of the week. Johnny and YYC says, I'd still go Hart, Fleury, Price. If Price is mentally and physically healthy, he's your starter. Hard to disagree. Price, Fleury, and Hart, that's what Mike says. West Coast Hockey Bias says, dark horse James Reimer, playing out of his mind right now. 7 starts with the Sharks. He's 4-2-1 with 178 goals against average and a .943 save percentage. I know it won't happen, but he had the hottest start of any Canadian goalie with a mediocre team in front of him. That's an interesting one. It really is an interesting one. When you think of backup goalies in the NHL and what they bring to your team, 7 starts. I know Mikko Koskinen started a dozen. Or whatever, 12. But a backup goalie giving you a .943 is incredible. I know we might not be getting the toughest starts. I know they want Adin Hill. I think Adin Hill has the potential to be a starter. But you can't ignore what James Reimer's doing for you. That's the thing. You can't just turn a blind eye and say just because he's a perennial backup, just because he's not a starter, if he's going to give you those starts when you need it, you got to consider him. And I'm not saying he needs to be considered for the Olympic team. But I'm saying if come January, come late December, James Reimer still has a .943 save percentage and he's played 25 games, maybe you give him a peek. Maybe. Oil City Dynasty says, can we trade a forward to the U.S. for Gibson or Hellbuck? Yeah, I don't think that's how it works in the Olympics. Elias says Hart, Price, Binnington. Christian says tough question. Obviously would have said Price and Fleury last year. Off the top of his head, he'd say between Hart and Binnington for starter. Maybe Kemper? I don't think Carter Hart's your starter come Olympic time. I think that's a tough one. I think you still need some of that experience. Like, it's a big stage. I know it's in China. I know, I don't know what the fan situation is going to be. Probably not that much, but it's still a pretty big stage. There's a lot of pressure that goes with it. And maybe it's best for Hart or Binnington to watch one from the bench. I guess I think Binnington can honestly handle the pressure. I think he's that good that he could handle it. Price, Fleury, Kemper. That's what McGregor says. Kemper the third over Binnington. Interesting choices. Again, let us know. Join the conversation anytime at World Hockey RPT on Twitter. If you want to join it on the live show, we're on 12 Ounce Sports, Facebook, and YouTube. So we talked about the Oilers, and I want to know what you think could change. What's your change if you're Ken Holland? What hat are you putting on right now? What are you thinking of the first move we need? Is it a goaltender? Is it a depth defenseman? Is it a third center? Is Derek Ryan not good enough? Is Slater Cuckoo not good enough? Or is Mikko Koskinen not good enough? Or Stuart Skinner, for that fact. What's the most important, what's the most pressing issue this team has? Because I don't think a 3C changes much. Does it help? Yes. Does it move the needle? No. Does a shutdown D-man help? Would a Zach Bogosian help? Yes. But also, are you going to play him with Bouchard? Is that really who you want? Is he that much of an upgrade from Slater Cuckoo and Chris Russell? I have a hard time believing so. Like, would a Luke Shen, a guy who's won, a guy who's played multiple roles, would he help this Oilers team right now? I still don't think so. Not if he's playing with Bouchard. And from a goaltending perspective, Koskinen, Korpisalo, Fleury's the one who's going to help you, but how do you fit that bill on your salary cap? That's a tough one. Still like the mortgage of the farm question. Go after a Spencer Knight. Maybe you go after a Jake Ottinger in Dallas, because he could be a backup to tomorrow, and he's going to give you better games, more quality starts than Stuart Skinner, I believe. But again, what are you giving up for? Are you giving up a Stuart Skinner and a draft pick for Jake Ottinger? Questions that need to be answered at one point or another by Ken Holland, because right now this roster probably not going to win a Stanley Cup. 3 moves, and they got a good chance to win a Stanley Cup. I firmly believe that. I want to know your thoughts on the Gallagher punch as well. And we'll get to it after. I got to rip in this ad read here for our friends at the Hockey Podcast Network. The NHL season, it's underway, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, has an unbelievable offer to celebrate the greatest sport on ice. New customers can bet just $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores. Doesn't matter if it's a one-time clapper or a deft deflection. However they light the lamp, you win. If the sportsbook's not available in your state yet, DraftKings, they're not going to leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contests. DraftKings, they're giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. You got to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Throw down $1 on any NHL game and win $100 in free bets if either team scores. That's easy. This week, DraftKings one puck in the net nets you a big win with promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years or older. New Jersey, Indiana, Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's what you got to do. And our friends from the Hockey Podcast Network, they are going to hook you up. If you miss any of this show, you want to listen back to the Connor Halley interview, you want to listen back to our recap of the Oilers and Winnipeg Jets, we got a funny clip from Leon Draisaitl in there. You got to do it through the Hockey Podcast Network because they are hooking us up. They're podcasting. And don't forget, there's some other great shows on 12-Ounce Sports. I always forget to shout them out, but AM Drive, Monday to Friday, 8 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. The guys are awesome. Aaron and Mike, they're doing a bang-up job with the morning show. Philly Pete, he's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday like us. Great gambling insight. I know it's been a rough start. It's a weird NHL season to bet. There's been a lot of things changing. But again, what goes up must come down. What goes down, probably going to come up as well. And I believe that when it comes to Philly Pete, the guy's a guru, and he's going to get you some units. It's a rough start, but everyone's had a rough start so far. Also, you got Lou Gamlin. Shout out to the Morning Skate. All those guys for making it possible. I got one more thing, and I did want to bring it up, and I hate to scream into a mic one more time, but this is from Rick Westhead this morning. A colleague of NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman's responded to Kyle Beach's attorney to say Bettman won't get involved as a mediator in settlement talks between Beach and the Chicago Blackhawks. We respectfully decline the request to participate in the mediation. Why is Gary Bettman? This guy runs the league. This guy runs, he's in charge of the Chicago Blackhawks and their ability to play in this league. I get it. He's not part of the franchise. He probably didn't know about the allegations. But why can he not step in? It's not just like grow a pair and get in there. It's have some human decency here to get involved and make sure the franchise in your league isn't trying to take advantage, isn't trying to screw over someone whose life you've ruined, whose career you've ruined in Gary Bettman's league. He was in charge of the league at that time. That got done under his watch. If he's not going to be better in this situation, what's the point of having him as a commissioner? I get it. The punishment has been handed out to the best of his abilities. That's what he thinks. That ain't it, though. That ain't it. You gotta sometimes suck it up, get in the room, help out. And if you're just going to sit there and say, well, I'm on the side of the team anyways, then we need a new Gary Bettman. Get him out. Let's get a new commissioner. That's where we'll leave it at for today. Oilers, they lose 5-2 against Winnipeg. We wrap that one up. Download the podcast, the Hockey Podcast Network. And, of course, we want to know, still, give us your 3 goalies. We'll interact on Twitter at World Hockey RPT. I'm there at Janner31_. Don't forget, go check out Sports Travel Tours, the absolute best sports travel tours. They are going to hook you up. If you want to go to the Spengler Cup in 2022, the World Championships, whatever you, I think they got NHL packages coming out too. You don't want to miss it. Sports Travel Tours. Go hit them up. The show's brought to you by Lord Co Auto Parts. And, of course, huge thanks to our lead producer, Bryce Bunn, social media manager, Eric Krause, Adam Herbertrup, who helps out on World Hockey Report, and Jeff Beck back in the 12-ounce sports studios. Until next week, everyone, be kind, be better.